What's up, guys? Welcome back to my channel where we talk all things true crime, supernatural, mysterious, paranormal, all of the interesting things. My name is Jennifer and I want to talk to you about something that I learned about a year ago that absolutely freaked me out. Black-eyed children. Have you guys heard of them? If not, buckle up because this is what nightmares are made of. Black-eyed children fall under the same category as Bigfoot and can't be 100% proven because the only proof we have is people's experiences. So you can decide for yourself what you want to believe. So stories of black-eyed children really increased in the 1990s, but stories about them still continue to today. Describing them, they aren't your normal type of kids that you'd find on the playground. They do not act normal. They are usually between the ages of 5 and 17 years old, and their eyes are solid black and their skin is unnaturally pale. Their voices sound robotic, almost automated. They're usually seen wearing out-of-date, old-fashioned clothes, and people claim that they get a feeling of dread or worry when they see the kids. There's usually more than one. They tend to show up in parking lots, sides of the road, or even right in front of your house. They knock very slowly, like knock, 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 and they will continue knocking until you answer. They always want you to let them in, your car, your house, wherever you may be. They almost seem to need your permission. They repeatedly ask to be let in, often giving stories of how they're out alone and that they need to call their parents. If you ask them for their names or their parents' names, they don't really have an answer for you. People have come forward with stories about them all have one thing in common, and that's that they didn't let kids in. Well, most of them have one thing in common, that they didn't let kids in. When you refuse to let them in, that is when they will finally look up at you and you can see their eyes. And people have reported that when they look at them, they begin to feel sick, dizzy, and even get nosebleeds. The number of sightings has increased over the years, even from seemingly reliable people such as military or police. So I want to tell you a few of the stories of encounters people have had with them that really creeped me out and also seem to be a little bit more reliable because of the source. One was a 6'7", 260-pound airman who was prior Special Forces. He had been stationed at a base in Texas, and he wouldn't say which one, but he was up one night drinking beer when he heard a knock on his dorm door. He opened the door, and there was nothing there. He was extremely confused, especially when he heard a sharp knocking on his door again. He got up and looked through the peephole. Standing on the other side, he saw a boy who looked to be about 17 or 18 years old at most, and the airman asked the kid, "What's up?" And the boy looked up with a smile that he says he can only describe as partially cruel and hungry looking. He looked gaunt and frail, about 5'9", maybe 140 pounds, and I'm imagining with that smile on his face, he looked rather creepy. The boy asked if he could use his phone. The airman apologized, said that he was going to bed, and that he should try the SP building across the parking lot. He closed his door and really thought nothing of it, but the boy knocked again. The airman felt goosebumps going up his body. Something was not right. He threatened the boy to get lost, and as he turned around to get his phone, when he looked back, the boy was completely gone. Then he realized that he had seen the boy before. In Pennsylvania 2 years before this incident, he was still in high school and working at a gas station. Late one night in October, he saw him walk across a 4-lane highway to the pumps and just stared at him and his brother who were smoking outside. His brother yelled over to him asking if he needed anything, and he gave them that same reply, that he needed to use their phone. The airman's brother told him that it was behind the counter and that he couldn't use it, but the kid continued to come closer. The airman and his brother went inside and stood at the front of the shop glass, and the boy just knocked for about 5 minutes until his brother went and got a bat and then went outside. He said the same thing about the boy. The kid had a white face and black eyes. Another incident that happened in Vermont in January 2016, there was a blizzard going on outside when a woman heard a faint knocking coming from her front door. She went to the door and saw a boy and a girl standing there, shivering and begging to use her phone. She was unsettled by them, but she still let them in and went to get her phone. After the children walked into the family room where there was more light, she noticed their eyes were completely black. As she stared at them, absolutely terrified, her husband's nose began to bleed. At that exact moment, the power went out. After standing in quiet for a bit, the children spoke in unison, saying that their parents had arrived. The woman watched as the two left her house and got into a black car that was being driven by a man in a suit. Not long after this incident, her husband was diagnosed with skin cancer. The woman began suffering from nosebleeds and several other medical issues. She's convinced that her and her husband's health decline is because she let the black-eyed children into their home. Another incident, a cop was sitting in his patrol car wrapping up his report when he saw two little kids on a deck outside of a house. And because it was in the middle of the night, he decided to get out and check on them. He immediately felt uneasy because they weren't right. They seemed strange, and he thought it could be abuse or drug related, but he noticed that they had solid black eyes. Then one of the kids turned to the cop and said, "They won't let us in." The cop turned his back to the kids and knocked on the back door of the house. Where the cop was standing, it would have blocked off the exit to get off the deck. An old lady answered the door and let the cop know that she didn't have any kids and didn't know any children matching the description of the ones that were at her door. The cop turned around and the kids were gone. They would have had to silently jump off the side of the deck without the cop even hearing it. The cop searched the area for the kids, but he never found them. Another incident, in 1996, Brian Bethel, who was a Texas reporter, encountered the black-eyed children in Abilene, Texas is how you say it. He was sitting in his car one night and he heard a knock, and he looked up and saw two boys, possibly teenagers, describing them as moving odd, and their skin was extremely pale. He could also see that their eyes were completely black. They asked if he would let them in his car, and for good reason, the guy was creeped out. Instead of thinking something was wrong with the kids, he thought he might be having a psychotic episode. So he immediately called a friend who had a psychology background. When he called the friend had company already at his house. He stayed on the phone with him though, trying his best to calm him down. Someone overheard his conversation with Brian and asked him to ask if the children had black eyes, without knowing exactly what it was the guy had even seen. She proceeded to tell them that she had a dream about a kid with black eyes and that if he let him in the car, he would be dead right now. Another reported incident involved a woman who encountered the black-eyed children at a gas station in the early 2000s. So if you're learning anything from these stories, don't go to gas stations and don't answer your doors. Just don't. According to her, late that night, a young boy and girl entered the gas station. Their appearance matched the others' accounts of the black-eyed children, but she also included that they had jet black hair. The woman was the only one working that shift, and she felt a sense of unease immediately. The kids came up to the counter and asked to use the phone, letting the woman know that they needed to call their parents for a ride. She gave them the phone, and that is when she noticed their eyes were completely black, and she felt an overwhelming sense of fear and dread. The kids also asked to be let into the employee-only area, and they were absolutely insistent that they be let back in there. But the woman, for good reason, was extremely creeped out by them and the way they acted so strangely, and their appearance wasn't helping anything either. She told them that they couldn't come in the back and that they needed to wait outside for their parents. So they went outside. A few minutes later, she took a peek outside and the children were gone. She never got over the sense of fear that those children gave her. So let's talk about one more incident. If you look it up online, you will find so many reports of these incidences. So I just picked out a few. There's no shortage, so feel free to go look at others. So if you want to continue to be creeped out, you can go get busy and Google. This particular incident occurred in the early 2000s. A guy named Alex was driving home late at night, of course, in a rural area when he saw two kids who appeared to be about 12 years old, a boy and a girl, standing on the side of the road. As anyone would be, seeing two kids on the side of the road in such a remote area at such late of night, he was concerned about them. So he decided to pull over and offer them help. When he got a closer look, he noticed that they were dressed in outdated clothing. As he approached in his car, he rolled down his window and right away noticed their solid black eyes, which instantly made his hair stand on end. Even though he was creeped out and had an unnerved feeling, he asked them if they needed any help. Now, me, I would have just driven right off after seeing their black eyes, but nope, that's not for me. But this is a nice guy, and the kids said that they were lost and they needed to ride to a nearby town to find their parents. Alex's fear was becoming increasingly terrified, feeling a sense of fear that was only intensifying the longer he was near the kids. So naturally, he hesitated at their request. Even though they continued to plead with him to be let in the car, Alex refused to let them in. He began to drive away, and as he did, he looked in his rearview mirror, only to see that the children had disappeared. I mentioned no gas stations, not answering your house door, and you can add do not drive on isolated roads late at night to the list of things to not do. All of these stories end pretty abruptly, so many theories on where the black-eyed children originate from. People think they could be aliens or demons, vampires, angels, omens of disasters. I'm not sure if they're real. I mean, there's a lot of people saying they are, so I'm gonna lean towards more that they are real. I feel like they're really not kids, but they're probably something that think appearing as a kid would make us feel less scared and that they can lure us into whatever it is that they want to do. What do you guys think? Do you think they're real? Have you experienced one? Let me know because I would love to hear all of your thoughts about this one. Thank you so much for watching, and if you enjoyed it, do me a favor that will take you like 5 seconds. Just hit the like button and then hit the subscribe button so that way you don't miss out on any more videos like this one, and I hope to see you guys next time.